Today, March 24th, 2026. Yesterday, we were talking about the noting of mind, the contemplation on the mind, consciousness. Chittasya yatha bhutang jnanaya chitte chittanu passi viharati. In order to understand the mind exactly as it is, we need to dwell contemplating the mind repeatedly as a mind. And the Buddha in Mahasatipatthana Sutta described the various types of mind. The mind is classified into different groups: wholesome mind, unwholesome mind, and indeterminate mind, or the resultant mind, the resultant of wholesomeness and unwholesomeness. The mind, when we say mind, the mind has just one nature, one characteristic, noting of the object, noting, inclining towards the object. But this mind is classified into various groups because of its association with different kinds of mental factors, mental concomitants. The mind is actually very pure and very clean, like a water, like a clean water. The mind is very pure and very clean. In water, when we add different colors, then the color of water changed. If we add red color, then the water becomes red. If we add green color, then water becomes green, and so on. So too in the mind. The mind is very pure and clean, but sometimes this mind associates with unwholesome mental states, such as greed, hatred, delusion, conceit, sloth and torpor, and so on. Then this mind becomes unwholesome. And sometimes when it associates with beautiful mental factors such as mindfulness, faith and confidence, and some good concentration and effort, then this mind, sometimes it associates with wisdom, then this mind becomes wholesome. So there are different kinds of minds, and whether this mind is wholesome mind or unwholesome mind, whether beautiful mind or ugly mind, skillful or unskillful, as soon as we notice it, then we need to note it. We need to observe it with aiming and effort. So if we can note that mind immediately, as soon as it arises, then there will arise mindfulness, concentration, and then wisdom. During the course of practice, sometimes we may find that there are some wholesome thoughts occurring continuously. And we think that, oh, this is wholesome, it is good. So this wholesome mind, this wholesome thought will not disturb my practice because this is not bad. This is not unwholesome, and we keep on thinking we keep on letting these wholesome thoughts to arise. But when we are doing very intensive retreats, whether it is wholesome or unwholesome, that should be noted right away. That's what we heard yesterday, Saraga Chitta, that is unwholesome mind. Whenever unwholesome mind arises, then we have to note it as it is. And with the Raga Chitta, wholesome mind, when wholesome mind arises, then again we have to note it immediately. So, and another group of mind is Mahagata Chitta and Amahagata Chitta, that is developed mind and undeveloped mind. And here, Mahagata Chitta, it refers to actually jhana consciousness. The jhana consciousness, fine material and immaterial sphere consciousness. And that type of consciousness arises only when we attained jhana by practicing tranquility meditation. So right now in this retreat, definitely we do not have jhana. We haven't attained any jhana, the mundane jhana. So definitely this developed mind or Mahagata Chitta will not arise in us. And the second mind is Mahagata Chitta, that is undeveloped mind. And that undeveloped mind refers to the sense sphere consciousness. That means all unwholesome mind and wholesome mind in sense sphere is a Mahagata Chitta. And this mind occurs one after another, sometimes unwholesome and sometimes wholesome mind, and sometimes resultant mind. The resultant mind means, for example, when we see something, some visible form, there is seeing consciousness, seeing mind. That is resultant mind. That seeing consciousness alone is not unwholesome mind nor wholesome mind. It is indeterminate mind or the resultant consciousness. And also when we hear sound, there is hearing consciousness. That hearing consciousness too is neither wholesome nor unwholesome, but it is just a resultant consciousness. So whenever this wholesome or unwholesome or resultant consciousness occurs, then according to this Satipatthana discourse, we have to note it right away as it is. And another group of mind is Sa-uttara mind and Anuttara mind. Sa-uttara is not supreme mind. Anuttara is supreme mind. Here again, this Sa-uttara, not supreme mind, refers to sense sphere consciousness, that is wholesome or unwholesome, or its resultant consciousness. And Anuttara, supreme mind, it refers to that jhana mind. find material and immaterial consciousness, jhana mind. So here when sa uttara chitta, not supreme mind, arises, then we have to make a note of it right away in order to see the nature of this mind, in order to see the characteristics of this mind. And the last group of the mind here is Vimutta Chitta and Avimutta Chitta. Vimutta Chitta is liberated mind. Avimutta Chitta is uh, unliberated mind. So liberated mind means liberated from mental defilements. Avimutta, not liberated mind, means not liberated from mental defilements, means associated with mental defilements. So when we are able to note every arising objects beginning from rising and falling movement in the abdomen, then at that moment we will have this vimutta chitta because we are noting and knowing the presently arising objects as it is. At that very moment, there is no defilements such as greed, hatred, delusion, and so on. So the mind, the noting mind is free from defilements for that moment we observe the objects. And that mind is vimutta chitta, liberated mind. There is no boundaries of defilements. The mind is quite free from defilements. It is not binded by the defilements. Therefore, in order to have this type of liberated mind, vimutta chitta, we have to observe the objects arising at that very moment continuously. Whatever the object, it doesn't matter. Whatever the object is there, we just need to move quickly. We just need to apply effort and aim. If we fail to note that object, then our mind will be diluted. Our mind will not be free from defilements. Then the mind, which is together with the defilements, which is associated with the defilements, greed, hatred, and delusion, then that mind will be avimutta chitta, the mind disturbed by defilements, not liberated mind. Sometimes we just try to think, we imagine, we plan at that time. Sometimes the mind is associated with greed, sometimes it is associated with anger, hate, aversion, sometimes it is associated with delusion, and we fail to note them. At that time, this avimutta chitta is occurring. So if we spend our time, our valuable time on just thinking or imagining or recollecting the past incidents, the past experiences, if we spend our time just in judging or comparing with others, comparing our present experience with the previous one, and we are not aware of it, we are not noting it, then our mind will not be liberated. If we spend our time for 1 minute in thinking and imagining or wondering or judging, then our mind is binded by these defilements for 1 minute. If we spend our time in thinking, in associating with the defilements for 5 minutes, then our mind is not free of defilements for 5 minutes. So when our mind is not free from defilements and it keeps going for a long time, if it keeps going for a long time, then later on we feel very tired. First, we feel mentally very tired, very fatigued, because this imagination, this thinking, this desire for comfort feeling, and hatred for discomfort, it just keeps on going again and again, and that makes us very tired mentally and physically. Both mentally and physically, we feel very tired. That means we are now completely binded by the defilements. We are having this avimutta chitta because we are inviting this avimutta chitta to arise. We are giving, we are paving a way for it. So in that case, what we have to do is we have to now move. We have to struggle in order to get rid of that avimutta chitta, that the mind uh, associated with defilements. So how can we get rid of this avimutta chitta, not liberated mind? And there is only one way: noting or observing as it is. In according to the Satipatthana practice, there is no other way to get rid of this avimutta chitta. So noting or observing, noting this is a kind of uh, spiritual revolution in order to free ourselves, in order to free our mind from the defilements. So we have to apply an ardent effort and aim. If we can do that way, if we can observe the objects that way, then our mind will be free from defilements, that is vimutta chitta. So the Buddha said that if one wants to get rid of all kinds of defilements, the unwholesome mental states, there is only way to practice satipatthana. If one wants to release oneself from the captivity of defilements, Satipatthana practice is the only way. And that's what we are doing here. We are practicing here. We, the meditators, we leave our home and we came to the center. We came to the center. The center is a secluded place from our families and our friends. So that type of seclusion is the kaya viveka, physical seclusion. We all have this seclusion now, but if we are not observing the objects, we are not mindful of every moment, then our mind, though we are physically in a secluded place, but our mind will not be secluded. There won't be the mental seclusion if we spend our time thinking the worldly affairs or thinking about the sensual pleasures or thinking about something else, imagining, even if we are thinking about the practice, how my practice is going on. So even if we are thinking about our own experiences in the practice, then we do not have this mental seclusion. So to gain both physical and mental seclusion, especially the mental seclusion, we just need to be in the present moment, noting the objects. So the essence of whole Satipatthana Sutta is to be in present, be mindful of presently arising objects. Do not go back to the past. Do not reflect the past. Do not think about the past, and also do not think about the future. Be in the present. So being in the present, we will have this physical, and we already have physical seclusion. We will also have this mental seclusion, and that is liberated mind, vimutta chitta. In the practice, when we are able to note the object, the present object, then we will have the liberation for one noting, one moment. If we are able to note the objects for two moments, two times, then we will have liberation for two moments. So this type of liberation, the moment by moment liberation, it is called tadanga vimutti, momentary liberation. And we should try to have that type of momentary liberation. At the beginning of practice, we won't be able to have the full liberation, the complete liberation. But we should try, and when we keep on trying, observing the objects moment by moment, we will be having that type of liberation moment by moment. And we need to keep on going that way. We need to keep on observing the objects so that this type of liberation slowly becomes stronger. The mind will be liberated from the defilements for the longer time, especially when we gain the higher insight knowledge. At that time, we may experience that the mind does not go anywhere. It just sticks with the object arising at that very moment. Sometimes, if we try to send our mind to the sensual objects, if we try to send our mind to many other places, but the mind sometimes will not go. It just immediately comes back to the object, the first object that we are observing. Means, though we um, try to send our mind to the defilements, the pleasurable objects, but it will not go. It just immediately comes back to the object occurring at that very moment. So at that time, the mind is liberated from the defilements for certain time, for the long-lasting liberation. That type of liberation is called Vikambana Vimoti. At the beginning, we will not have that type of liberation. At the beginning of the practice, we will just have the momentary liberation. And that momentary liberation is very valuable for us because we need to make it stronger and stronger in order to have the long-lasting liberation. Momentary liberation, just one moment, it seems, or it is not strong. It would be very weak, just one moment of liberation. We think it is not valuable, nothing will happen. But it is not like that. We should try to have this type of momentary liberation continuously. And then we will have the Vikambana Vimoti, long-lasting liberation. So here, Vimutta Chitta, it shows these two kinds of liberation, momentary liberation and long-lasting liberation, Tadanga Vimoti and Vikambana Vimoti. So that is very important. Actually, there are 5 kinds of liberation. The first one is momentary liberation, Tadanga Vimoti. Every time when we are able to note the presently arising objects, we are having this momentary liberation. The second liberation is long-lasting liberation, Vikambana Vimutta. That one, when momentary liberation becomes stronger and stronger, the mind is free of defilements for quite some time. And that type of liberation is Vikambana Vimutta. And the third liberation is Samucheda Vimoti, that is complete liberation. And that type of complete liberation we will get when we attain path knowledge. So when this second type of liberation, Vikambana Vimoti, long-lasting liberation, it becomes stronger, then we gain path knowledge, and at that moment, our mind will be liberated from the kilesas completely, in no return. The kilesa, the certain kilesas will not arise again. The kilesas will be eradicated completely. The first path knowledge eradicates the kilesas, the defilements such as skeptical doubt and the wrong view. Once we attain the first path knowledge, we will be free from this skeptical doubt and the wrong view completely. These two kilesas will never arise within us. So that type of eradication of defilements is the samudcheda vimutti, complete liberation. And other kilesas, other defilements will be completely eradicated by the higher path knowledge. And the fourth liberation is patipasati vimutti, and it is translated as peaceful liberation. And this type of liberation we will get when we attain the fruition knowledge, phala jnana. And the fifth vimutti is nissarana vimutti, and it is translated as ultimate liberation. That is nibbana actually. When we experience nibbana, our mind is liberated from all sorts of defilements. Liberation by escaping defilements. That is nissarana vimutti. There are 5 kinds of liberation, but in this, when we talk about this vimutta chitta here, in this chittanupassana, the vimutta chitta, liberated mind, means only the liberation of mind, that is the momentary liberation and the long-lasting liberation, because we haven't attained path and fruition knowledge yet. So only the two kinds of liberation, momentary and long-lasting liberation, we can gain when we practice this satipatthana meditation. So therefore, here all about is sati, mindfulness. We should protect our mind with mindfulness. Sata rakhena cetasa samanagato. We should protect our mind. We should guard our mind by mindfulness. And when we are able to guard or protect our mind by mindfulness, we will experience the liberation. We will have a liberated mind. So, in order to guard this mind by mindfulness, then satipatthana practice need to be practiced very precisely, very meticulously, and continuously. Sati protects the mind from the kilesa defilements. So what we all need to do is to note any object arising at that very moment, whether it is seeing object or hearing object or tasting, smelling, touching, whether it is rising or falling, whether it is greed or hatred, whether we are um, doing, walking like a lifting, moving, or placing, whatever the object, we just need to uh, be mindful of all those objects with aim and effort. So every time the mindfulness is the matter here, we have to try our best to keep that mindfulness alive. We should not forget to uh, observe or to note the objects arising at that very moment. So the Buddha instructed in very the Buddha instructed in just one sentence. He gave the instructions. In Pali, there are only 3 words. Though Satipatthana Sutta is very long discourse, in very detail, the Buddha explained how to be mindful, how to note the objects. The Buddha explained in very detail. In other discourses, the Buddha used just one sentence to instruct. The Satipatthana practice, Bhutang Bhutato Passati in Pali. Bhutang Bhutato Passati. Passati is observe or see or note. What to note? Bhutang, whatever occurring at that time. Whatever. Whatever means every objects, every phenomena, physical and mental phenomena. Bhutato, then how to observe, how to note it, how to see it as it is. Bhutato, as it is. So observe everything. Everything means every physical and mental phenomena. In Satipatthana Sutta, every kaya, bodily objects, vedana, feelings, chitta, mind, and dhamma, mind objects. So that is Bhuta. And how to observe it? Bhutato, as it is. The bodily objects as bodily objects, feelings as feelings, mind as mind, and the Dhamma as Dhamma. So this is very short instruction and very easy to remember. Bhutang Bhutato Passati, just 3 words in Pali language. Observe everything as it is. So observe means be mindful of everything. Be mindful. Have a mindfulness on the objects occurring at that very moment. Whether we want or not, whether we like or not, we have to observe. Sometimes we don't want to observe the objects. We feel very tired. The mind is restless. We don't want to move. We don't want to look. We don't want to sit, but we have to. Because the instruction is observe everything as it is. If we feel, oh, I'm lazy, then note that laziness. Lazy, lazy. If we feel, oh, I don't want to note, then note, not want to note. Don't want to note. We have to note that way. Don't want to move. And then we have to note, oh, don't want to move. We have to note that mind, not wanting mind. Wanting mind and not wanting mind. Everything we have to note. So if we are able to note everything, every physical and physical and mental phenomena that is arising at that very moment, not the past one, not the past which already has arisen, and not the future, but the present object. We have to note it. And that way we can protect our mind from defilements. And that mind is called Vimutta Chitta, liberated mind. So what we need to have is sati, mindfulness. Of course, mindfulness alone cannot work completely. We need the help of other powers, other mental states, as like a virya, effort, vitaka, aiming. We need to have these two mental powers at the beginning. Then we will be able to be mindful of everything occurring in the present moment. So this mindfulness is compared with door. If we keep the door closed, then no one can go in or out. No one can come in and no one can go out because the door is locked, the door is closed. So too, if we have this mindfulness door all the time, then the defilements will not have a chance to come into our stream of consciousness in all six sense doors. So we should um, uh, keep this mindfulness. We should have this mindfulness in all six sense doors because all sorts of defilements can enter from these six sense doors. From eye door to greed can come in hatred and other defilements. From ear door, nose door, tongue door, body door, and also mind door. So we have to keep those six doors closed with this sati, mindfulness. And the Buddha said that one who can protect oneself in that way, closing the doors with mindfulness, not letting defilements to enter, if one can keep, especially this mind, with that mindfulness, then there will not arise the kilesa enemies. Even the kilesa enemies, which have arisen already, will be dispelled. And also the kilesa enemies, which has not arisen yet, will not get a chance to arise. So if one can protect this mind with mindfulness, then he will be free of the boundaries of kilesas. Then he will have a liberation. So Satiya pati gananto zinati papake akusale dhamme. This is the word of the Buddha. What it means that just hold on to mindfulness. Just hold on to mindfulness. You will conquer all defilements. Satiya pati ganantu. Hold on to mindfulness. And zinati papake akusale dhamme. You will conquer all inferior dhammas, all unskillful dhammas, all defilements. Therefore, this sati mindfulness is very important, especially in the practice, because we all want to have peace and happiness in the mind. We all want to have uh, we all want to uh, be liberated from all sorts of suffering that we are experiencing in our life, and to be free of all sufferings, then we need to keep this mindfulness with us all the time. And we will continue this talk tomorrow. That's all for today.